As I've reflected on ways to implement ideas and lessons gleaned from this text, I continuously return to one idea. It's not the specific lessons that I personally need to apply in my classroom. Instead, my focus remains fixed on implementing the bohemian mentality of consistently blending creativity into lesson plans that have become increasingly more standardized. I've become re-inspired by this text, shaken from the shackles of standards and curriculum maps, reminded that what sets a good writing class apart from the hours of drab high school desk time is the atmosphere the teacher creates, a space where writing is both creative and challenging. This has always been my belief. I just think that somewhere along the bumpy road of national reform efforts and district initiatives, I was swallowed into the vacuum of testing, grading, and curriculum coverage. Though I've maintained a creative approach with my creative writing class, considering by nature it's built for creative instruction, I know I've lost my balance between creative and challenging tasks in my 12th grade course, Perspectives in Literature. With the pressure to prepare students for post-secondary endeavors, meet specific Common Core state standards, I admit succumbing to time constraints or expectations and opting for efficient lessons over engaging ones. The end result? Bored students. While this happens rarely, I'm committed to reducing that to never. Thus, by applying the overall mentality of this text, and even using some lessons as a framework for some of my own, I intend to ensure a continually engaging and rigorous classroom. A couple specific examples of my application of this goal occurred in my classroom last week. My seniors have been reading Into the Wild by Jon Krakauer, and we've been focusing on improving our analysis of details in a text to make an original, insightful claim supported by thoughtfully selected textual evidence. So one day, instead of having them write an essay analyzing the character of Christopher McCandless, the novel's protagonist, I had them do what I call a character blast on my back bulletin board. This particular character renames himself as Alexander Supertramp, so I had the students cut out or draw images to represent one of the two personas and find quotes in their text that they thought truly expressed each of the characters' personalities. Then, with markers in hand and remaining silent, they had to go up to the giant poster and write their thoughts, trying to connect or dispute ideas. While this lesson was not directly offered in our text, it was inspired by Section 3, Literature and Nonfiction, Connecting Writing to Reading. Particularly the line, turning students into real readers and deep thinkers is perhaps the greatest challenge of the 21st century. As I mentioned in one of my posts, this challenge of inspiring original thought nested in my mind last year when a conversation with a colleague turned into a photo that I now use as a reminder to ensure my activities foster independent thought. This one certainly did. Later on in the week, after a few discussions and other activities, I realized my students needed more practice finding useful and purposeful textual evidence, especially since their summative assessment for this unit was a literary analysis essay. So, instead of lecturing for an hour or having them do a worksheet, I took advice from Baines and Kunkel about using competition to break up the traditional approach to teaching tedious tasks. It was time for the students to go to war. While Baines and Kunkel used this concept for vocabulary, I experimented with using it with textual evidence. Thus, the quote war was born. To set the mood, I arranged my desk like a courtroom with a team defense, a team prosecution, and a team jury. We would battle 3 separate issues, all presented as thesis statements that could be proven or disproven, and the teams would rotate, allowing each team an opportunity to battle the others. Plus, I wanted a jury for 2 reasons. First, this is a class of 24 students, and I wanted them in appropriately sized groups for the activity. Groups of 8 worked better than 12. Secondly, as a jury, they were responsible for evaluating the quality of the evidence and awarding points, eventually determining the winner. I did lay out point values for evidence. A valid example about a concept, but not exactly from our text, it would earn a point. An actual example from the text, but without a quote, could get 2 points. If the students had a point from the text and they supported it with a quote that kind of proves the point, they would get 3 points. But if you wanted the 5 points, you had to have a valid point and find a very insightful, powerful quote that entirely proves the point that would be almost impossible to dispute. Immediately, the students were drawn into this activity, scouring their books for evidence. After providing them with 20 minutes of prep time, they launched into war, tossing quotes back and forth with the ferocity and passion of the soldiers I had set them up to be. Although each battle became a bit heated, the quality of the evidence continuously improved, showcasing the effectiveness of this activity. I had challenged them. I had given them practice in a skill, and I had done so with bohemian flair. Mission accomplished. Now, as I head into another unit with these seniors, I will continue to tweak lessons from our text that facilitate achievement of my goal to remain balanced as an educator who teaches skills and standards, but does so with creativity, passion, and an opportunity for independent, meaningful thinking, reading, and writing.